Good evening. Tonight we will be presenting our signature assignment. In our group, we have Tareen Grant, Marino Reles, and Erica Duval Saint, and myself, Jessica Tarico. Now I will share my screen. And moving on to the PowerPoint. Can everyone see my screen okay? Alrighty. So before we begin, I would like to introduce our emerging practice. Our group and I created Embracing Tennis. This tennis program is based on inclusion for children with autism. We wanted to create an environment where we can provide opportunities for social participation, recreational play, and sports activities. In our program, we used a recent literature based on a speech-language pathologist named Pugliese. Pugliese states that tennis, when coupled with occupational therapy, helps promote social participation, improve fine motor and gross motor skills, and increase emotional regulation. Children with autism are more common to not have a working job when they're an adult than other children with disabilities. This is due to the lack of opportunities to engage in these inclusion programs at a young age that are not able to carry over. We created this program to help children with autism succeed in the future. Now I will move on to our needs assessment. In our needs assessment, we found that tennis coaching coupled with occupational therapy and an activity analysis will help increase fine and gross motor skills, along with social participation among peers. We found that a fund named Love Serving Autism has already created a program as such. However, they also fund other emerging practices as well. In South Florida alone, in the northern area from Jupiter to Boca, Love Serving Autism has created tennis courts for these children to engage in physical therapy, OT, and tennis coaching lessons. However, further South Florida, there are limitations. From Boca up until Miami Gardens, there is a high community of children with autism and a lack of occupational therapy coupled with tennis coaching. We found in a recent study that lower class cities like Miami-Dade County are in need of an emerging practice that combines these two disciplines. Now moving on to my geographical assessment. In South Florida, closer to Naples and Miami Gardens, we found Acing Autism. Acing Autism is a tennis program that provides tennis lessons for children with autism. However, it is run solely by tennis coaches and volunteers. There is a lack of evidence-based research that their skills are going to be carried over into adulthood because there is no documentation or proof that these sessions are going to be facilitating these skills such as fine motor, gross motor, and social participation. The closest community that provides both occupational therapy and tennis is within 32 miles of the USA campus in Coral Gables. However, there is a small area, Miami-Dade County, that does not have any programs at all, with a high population of autism children. In Miami-Dade County, we want to start this emerging program and hope for it to grow to other counties so that more children have an opportunity to engage in an inclusion program. Now I will state briefly our mission and vision of Embracing Tennis. Embracing Tennis is a community-based tennis program that strives for the inclusion of autistic children through sports and recreation sponsored by Love Serving Autism. Our vision is for Embracing Tennis to promote functional independence for individuals with autism and create inclusive opportunities through sports play. Now I will briefly mute myself and move on over to my colleague. One moment.
When it comes to billing and coding for our program, so Love Serving Autism will help pay for the program director, the tennis equipment, and the tennis coach within our program. Our program will partner with the Palm Beach 100 grant. The Palm Beach 100 is a group of philanthropist women who helps launch program initiative in South Florida. So they will provide our program with $100,000 for startup expenses. So our program will not use the ICD-10 codes for billing purposes, and the occupational therapist also will not treat with CPT codes. Now moving on to staffing. Our program will have a licensed occupational therapy, which will be responsible to create an activity analysis to enhance fine motor skills and manipulating the tennis racket, and gross motor skills to improve movement on the court. In addition to that, our program will have a tennis coach, a program director, and volunteer. The tennis coach will be responsible to teach proper tennis strategies. The program director will be in charge of registering applicant, planning, implementing, and evaluating program and project in order to ensure that they are delivered on time, within budget, and following quality standards. The volunteer will be responsible to help the tennis coach with the ball court material prep and cleanup. Now moving on to expected volume. The Embracing Tennis program is expected to have 11 children engaged every day. Throughout the program, which is a total of 12 weeks, the children will be observed collectively as a group at all times. The program will occur every Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. This space will be covered by a non-slip tennis court installed by the local city hall. There will be 15 tennis rackets, 500 tennis balls, 2 benches for parents to sit down and watch their children play, and a water fountain with a bathroom. There will also be a small building of about 1,200 square feet for the parents or individuals to refer to for registration, which will also have a bathroom and front office to check in before the session. Now I'll pass it to Erica. When it comes to our budget, so the gross expected income is $15 per person. So there's 11 participants, so the total is gonna be $165. After 8 sessions, that will be $1,320. We will pay the OT $40 per hour, the tennis coach $20 per hour, and the program director $18 per hour. So after 8 sessions, the OT we will pay the OT and the tennis coach. The OT $320 per hour and the tennis coach $160. So in total, after the 8-week session, we will pay the OT, program director, and tennis coach $552 per hour. Now I will pass it to Erica.
For our program, we had 2 goals. The initial goal is to increase the client's social involvement by having them play a 5-minute tennis game with 2 or more peers within 12 weeks. The second goal is for the client to enhance their fine motor abilities within 12 weeks through practice with a tennis racket. Now we're gonna move on to documentation. The documentation process includes generating weekly reports in Excel that interpret whether the participant is meeting their benchmarks. For instance, hand management of the racket will be scored on a range of 1 to 4, depending on how difficult it is. Between 1 and 4, independent manipulation of the racket without the need for any verbal or tactile signals is indicated by a score of 4. A score of 1 indicate the maximum verbal and tactile cues required to hold the noise. Now we're gonna move on to assessment. For our program, we chose 2 assessments. We chose the BOT2 and the sensory processing measure. These tests were chosen so children in the Embracing Tennis program could be matched to other children their age. Now we're gonna move on to the quality improvement. After each session that lasts 6 weeks, client satisfaction survey will be distributed to all parents whose children have been enrolled. The director of the program is responsible for collecting surveys from all parents. Client will have accomplished 2 objectives by the end of the 12-week program. Now I'm gonna let it to Tareen.
So within the tennis program, the delegation of authorities is designed in which the occupational therapist delegates authority over all volunteers in the program, and a program director who delegates authority to the tennis coach. Next slide. So ultimately, the occupational therapist is the only therapist within the program. No OTAs or aides will be needed to provide additional therapy or support to minimize ambiguity, and due to, and of course, that will result in a very structured and manageable caseload. So both internal and external marketing strategies will be implemented in the tennis program. The internal marketing will be implemented to increase employee engagement with the company's goals and foster brand advocacy, which will be accomplished through compensation and benefits, social media platforms, and business blogs. We will also have external marketing strategies which focus on creating connections with our consumers, which will be accomplished through Facebook and Instagram. All right, so we could go to the next slide. Below, we have an example of our Embracing flyer. The color and themes were specifically designed to target the audience. It provides detailed information about the date the program will be launched, the time frame, the location, and the number if additional information is needed, where the inquiring personnel can speak with the program director to get additional information. Next slide. To conclude, we want to implement a program that will facilitate inclusion and will provide kids with autism the necessary social skills and gross motor skills to function amongst their peers. These tools will not only foster development, but will also aid in social participation and work as they enter childhood. Okay, so we have a list of references from which we have gathered information to ensure that the data that we've provided is not only empirical, but was also tested and showed that it was, of course, our program would be a success.
And that concludes our presentation. Thank you very much. Have a good night. I'm not sure how to stop the recording. Bear with me. Not sure how to stop the recording. I guess we just leave. Alrighty, thank you so much.